I've often sort of wondered about the dynamic when you're at work, you're a guy, you're working hard, you've got a family at home, young family, your main aim is to provide for your family, and so you're just driven, you know, you're working, and this is often a setup for an injury. Really big pressure to keep on going, and you're an overdoer. So I've often seen, in particular, men work, the accident happens, there's all this pressure to get back to work because we've got the mortgage, we've got the kids, you know, planning to go to school, etc. And unfortunately, if pain doesn't go away, often it really has a very bad effect on the relationship. And I've seen many people, I've been with many people as their relationships have broken down, families fall apart, and that's a really risky situation for a man in particular. So when pain comes in the front door, love flies out the window, and men are often left alone. Many men that I've worked with have been in the horrible situation of being really disconnected. And of course, if you're a bloke and your social life has been, I head up the pub or I go up the club, I have a couple of beers. Men communicate differently to women. You know, men go up the pub, they might not speak about what's really bothering them, but they're connected to their mates and they've got this social nexus. Unfortunately, some of the men that I've known have become so isolated in their pain that they can no longer even go up the pub because they can't sit down. And they say, well, what have I got to talk about? I'm not at work. What have I got to talk about? And so those people become very isolated. So a man who is not working, who is in pain, families not functioning very well, maybe split up, those men are really at risk. And to be honest, they were the men that I was often taking suicide calls from. There was a fellow who was ringing me regularly. This is back in the early to mid 2000s, and his family had broken up. He had a son who was living with him, and he just couldn't see how he could continue. And I think the worst moment for him was he was being prescribed strong pain medicine, and his son was growing, you know, into teenage, and this teenager had found the pain medicine. And it didn't turn out badly, but the child had either shown it to somebody or some other adult had found out that this child had found where these pain medicines were. And this man that I'd been speaking to on the phone regularly was so distressed because the school community had come back and attacked him for allowing the child to find it, in other words, not having a secure enough place to put these medicines, but B, for actually taking these medicines. So, I mean, he needed the medicines, the pain specialist had prescribed them. He was living in a country town where there was a very low level of understanding about chronic pain and what people have to do to manage it. So he was absolutely so distressed that I kept on ringing him through the night because I felt that he was at great risk. Fortunately, he's still with us, but it's the double whammy. You have to take these medicines, or at least that's your view, because you've not been offered anything else to manage your pain. But then you've got to run a family. You've got to make sure that your family's safe with it, because these are strong medicines. In the wrong hands, with somebody who hasn't had the time necessary to learn to tolerate these sorts of medicines, the result can be catastrophic. He was tormented. He was absolutely tormented.